Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the confusing world of corporate filings. Today we're diving into Delta Airlines' latest 8K report. It's about their annual shareholder meeting and some changes to how they pay their executives. Will this translate to better service or just bigger bonuses? Let's find out. So this isn't your typical quarterly or annual report filled with tons of financial details. This 8K is more about what happened at Delta's annual meeting of shareholders in June. Basically, it's a report of important decisions made by the owners, the shareholders of the company. Scroll is a report, date of earliest event, reported. June 19, 2025 scroll, and the main points we're focusing on happened in mid-June of this year. This is when Delta held its annual meeting and voted on some key items. One of the big things they voted on was a change to the Delta Airlines Inc. performance compensation plan. This is the plan that decides how top executives get paid, how they are rewarded for their performance. The report tells us that the existing plan, the way executives are paid, isn't really changing much. There are only two main adjustments. First, they're increasing the number of shares, stocks, that can be given out under the plan by 9.6 million. This means there's more potential for executives to get stock as part of their compensation, as part of what they are paid. Second, they're extending the plan's expiration date all the way to mid-2005, so this compensation structure is going to be in place for quite a while. If you want all the nitty-gritty details, you can check out Delta's official proxy statement filed back in April. A proxy statement is a document companies use to tell shareholders about the things they'll be voting on at the annual meeting. Now let's get into the actual voting results from the annual meeting. There were 5 different proposals, 5 different things that shareholders got to vote on. First up, they elected all 14 people nominated to be on Delta's board of directors. Board members are like the supervisors of the company, making sure things are running smoothly. Everyone who was nominated got the support of the shareholders. Looking at the votes, we can see that Edward Bastian, who's the CEO, got over 466 million votes in favour of him being on the board. There were only about 1 million votes against. That shows pretty strong support for him and the other board members. Next, there was a vote on executive compensation, which is basically asking shareholders if they agree with how much the executives are getting paid. This vote is advisory, it's not legally binding, but it sends a message to the company. In this case, a large majority, over 445 million, voted in favour of the executive compensation plan. Only about 21 million voted against it, so shareholders are generally okay with how the executives are being paid. Then there was a vote to approve the changes, the amendment to the performance compensation plan that we talked about earlier. This is about increasing the number of shares available and extending the plan's expiration date. Again, the shareholders approved this with over 450 million votes in favour. About 16 million voted against it. This means shareholders are on board with giving executives more potential stock and keeping the compensation plan in place for longer. The shareholders also voted to approve Ernst & Young as the company's independent auditors for this year. Auditors are like financial watchdogs, checking the company's books to make sure everything is accurate, that there aren't any accounting shenanigans or trickery. This passed with flying colours with over 552 million votes in favour. It's pretty standard for shareholders to approve the company's choice of auditors. Finally, there was a shareholder proposal, something that a shareholder suggested about allowing shareholders to act by written consent. This would make it easier for shareholders to make decisions without having to wait for a formal meeting. This proposal didn't pass. More shareholders voted against it, over 262 million, than voted for it, about 98 million. So for now, shareholders will still need to gather at meetings to make important decisions. Scroll pursuant to the requirements of the Securities Exchange Act of 1934 scroll. So what does all this mean? Well, it shows that Delta's shareholders are generally supportive of the company's leadership and their plans for executive compensation. They're giving executives more potential rewards and keeping the compensation plan in place for the long haul. However, they weren't ready to make it easier for shareholders to act independently. Now, looking at these decisions, Delta appears to be betting on its current leadership to continue delivering good results. The increased stock options could motivate executives to work even harder to increase the company's value, which would benefit everyone, including shareholders. However, it's also true that if the company does badly, the executives might still get paid handsomely. The vote against allowing shareholders to act by written consent suggests that management wants to maintain control over the decision-making process. It doesn't suggest they are being outright shady. However, shareholder input is invaluable and helps bring different view to the table. Alright, that's our breakdown of Delta Airlines' latest 8K filing. What's your take on these decisions and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of corporate filings. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description where you can find more documents and discuss with fellow investors and watchers. Thanks for watching. See you next time.